Now explain Trump. Trump is at all-time high. He gets shot. I mean, immediately the day after, I'm like, just hand him the election. It's over. There's no way that they could make up this kind of ground. He's a hero. He did it in this prolific fashion. He's got his fists in the air. Fight, fight, fight. It's almost like that happened 30 years ago. Nobody is even talking about this anymore. Like, his campaign seems to like lack energy. Like, what the fuck is happening in Trump land?
Something really changed in Donald Trump since he took that bullet. And I don't know if you guys notice it, but to me, it's very clear. I mean, it's like first off, at his convention speech, he was like totally affected by it, which, you know, understandable. But look, there's an obvious blueprint here for Donald Trump that Donald Trump would always follow. And he's not following it right now.
What is that blueprint?
Well, look, I mean, what did he say about Russiagate? It was a witch hunt. They were out to get me, right?
Yeah.
What did he say about all the criminal charges against him?
Witch hunt.
It's a witch hunt. They were weaponizing the Justice Department against me. And if he wanted to keep this story in the media and make this the story of the whole thing, he could just say what. I mean, look.
Everybody thinks the CIA tried to kill me.
They allowed, listen, after framing me for treason and then weaponizing the justice system against me, the Secret Service just happened to allow someone with a sniper rifle to get within 130 yards of me and get a clear shot at my head. This guy who's, you can see on video, is scoping out the area for an hour plus beforehand while people on the ground are screaming, he's got a rifle on that roof, and they didn't yank the president off the stage. Donald Trump always stokes conspiracy beliefs. He always does this. He could easily just be poking this thing and make this the biggest story and totally make this, like, this is what Trump always had the ability to do. He decides what's going to be in the news cycle today. It's his superpower, you know? And he is very clearly not doing that. Dude, Elon Musk asked him the other day on their Spaces about it. Then he just started praising the Secret Service for what a great job they did.
That was the first thing he did. He said the Secret Service is amazing. What an amazing job.
So my conclusion, Trump shook.
So basically Trump's going, wow, they tried to take me out. And by they, that means the CIA or the alphabet agencies, the powers that be. And now he's like, holy shit, it is that easy to take me out. I barely survived this one. They will try it again. I better toe the company line. I better behave.
Listen, I think that seems to be the only explanation that makes sense to me. And I think Donald Trump, look, when he ran in 2016, he said, it was like, I'm going to drain the swamp. And that was like his, but the thing is, when you're talking about draining the swamp, you're talking about rolling back the biggest honeypot in the history of the world. I mean, like, you're drain the swamp, like,
that's gonna piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, like if you want to actually, Tucker Carlson said this, but like I think he's dead right about it. If you really wanted to drain the swamp, you have to be ready to die. You know, like, you have to be ready to sacrifice your life for that mission.
Fear for Vivek if he wins.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I don't think Donald Trump was ever ready to die for this. You know, I think Donald Trump was like, the way his mind works is like, I'm tremendous. I'm very smart. These other people are very stupid. I see the obvious solution to this. You know, like, he would always just be like, you know, it's kind of just like, we shouldn't fight stupid wars. It's bad business, you know, so let's not do that anymore. I don't think he had any clue what he was actually up against. And I think that probably, a bullet whizzing by your head and being like, their plan was actually to blow your brains out on national television. That might make you think, ooh, I don't know if I want to piss them off. Also, the Secret Service are still responsible for his security, you know, going forward. And so my takeaway is just like, looking at it, having observed Trump over all these years, I'm like, for the first time, he seems really shook. Like, he seems like, he's worried about that. I don't think he wants to die.
I would even say even before that, because first time he was running on, I'm going to drain the swamp. He gets elected. There was no drainage of any swamp. I think immediately once he got elected, he got talking to in a way where it's like, he knows what he can and cannot do.
He even bailed out Hillary. Did you hear him talk about Hillary? He's like, we could have done horrible things to her, but I think we should move on. And
yeah, no, like this is my point. She's just going.
You didn't hear this?
Yeah.
Say what it is.
Well, they were like, there were all these, campaign promises of lock her up, but you didn't end up locking her up. And basically, his response was basically just like, we said things on the campaign, but how about we're all just nice to each other? No one's going to lock anyone up.
It doesn't look good to do that.
Come on.
You lock up a president's wife, a secretary of state. That doesn't look good for America.
Yeah, it's like, wow, look at the energy shift in that.
Yeah.
It's
so
like,
is he running now, despite all of this, just to free his criminal record? Like
he could free his criminal record by stepping down.
Yeah,
I think that's a negotiation.
So
away.
then why is he putting himself through this for the third time?
Now they need a patsy.
Well, I think
too deep, probably.
I think Donald Trump is motivated by what Donald Trump is obviously motivated by. I mean, a guy who's like, well, it's not just power; it's like
attention.
It's like identity. Like he's the guy who has to build a huge skyscraper and put his name in gold letters on it. Like, and the fact that he was a one-term president, I think, really bothers him. The fact that the narrative is he lost. He has to constantly correct that anytime anyone thinks it. And I think he wants to come back and win again. But I don't know what exactly he wants after this assassination attempt. And I don't know, I think he wants to win still, but he also kind of wants to signal that it's like, hey, come on, man. Like, all right, drain the swamp. Well, all right, I was talking about drain the swamp. Let's just make the swamp a little better than the swamp.
Here's a question I wanted to ask you. Robbie Slovic, who you probably know, another very smart political comic. I really trust him. Throughout the election cycle, I've been asking him, what do you think Trump's chances are? He's like, Trump has no chance. He even said after the bullet was whizzed by his ear, he goes, people are going to forget this. Trump has no chance. The only time he was worried was the debate. He's like, Biden's in such bad decline, I don't know. But people aren't going to vote for Trump who are in the middle. They're just not anymore. But Donald Trump has hijacked the Republican Party. So let's say he loses this election, gets bold again, and is like, you know what, fuck it, I want to run again in 2028. What are Republicans going to do? Like, how do they get their party back?
I mean, I think he's just too old at that point. I mean, Donald Trump is going to be 84.
No.
What is he?
Oh, wait, you're saying next election?
You're saying if he was running 28.
That's too much.
I don't think it's possible that he's going to run again there. I don't agree with Robbie on that. I mean, I think that certainly if it was Trump versus Joe Biden, I think if there were real elections, I think no question Donald Trump was going to win that. Look, Donald Trump was down pretty big in the polls against Hillary Clinton and ended up winning. He was down substantially more in the polls than he ended up. Like, it was, he did better than he was polling in 2020. That's how Trump always is. He always does a little bit better than he's polling. He was even up in the polls in every single swing state against Joe Biden. Now it's kind of returned back to where Trump typically is, which is like the polls say he's going to lose, but there's a lot of closeted Trump voters out there. I think what Robbie's probably underestimating is that, like, there's real. The inflation is really killing people, dude. And the immigration is really unpopular. And I think that really, really hurts the Democrats. Now, that being said, I'm more on the conspiratorial side, where I'm like, all the signals that I've seen so far is that the powers that be will not allow Donald Trump to be in the White House again.
Not even with his capitulation?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that could be a game changer. But I will say that all the signals for the last 4 years have been that all the most powerful people are telling you this guy will not be allowed to be in the White House again. And those people have a lot of power.